Hey, everybody, this is Daryl, aka The D, from the Simply Incredible podcast with my two friends, Juice, and he actually spelled it properly.
You're welcome.
And he interrupts the stuffing of the face. And
Yeah.
Wilhelm,
Hello.
what is up?
Tis a rainy, miserable Saturday, so nothing better to do than sit here and talk a couple movies and maybe a little comic talk shoved in there too.
Nothing better to do but sit here and talk to Daryl.
Yeah.
It's legitimate. It's legitimate. Yeah, it feels to me like the entire month.
We're just going to change the name of this to the Nothing Better to Do podcast.
What's a word for starring that's really depressing? I guess Daryl is here.
Begrudgingly featuring
Daryl, aka Eeyore.
Yeah. So what are we talking about today, Daryl?
Today we are finally doing our movie reviews, and I thought about this when I was talking to Ricky, who can't show up. He do good. and I decided to do it on the comic book grading scale because it's different. That's really my entire thought on that. So if it's a great movie, like 9.8, maybe a 9.9. Ooh, a 10? I don't know.
10 is awful subjective.
Yeah, it's very rare. Or we get all the way down to a 2.5, a 1.0. And below
1.5 incomplete.
0.5.
Well, isn't it below 1? Isn't it 0.2's below 1?
0.5 would be the lowest you can
Oh,
get.
it is? Okay.
Well, actually, NG, no grade, but that's usually, a page.
Well, we didn't watch it. It got an NG.
Yeah.
We're starting the MCU reviews. I'm excited about this, actually, because this past week I watched this movie over here, The Iron Man, who I like poking him in the nose over here, and the Hulk. It's on this side. By the way, these are really cool. Back when Hollywood Video was here, I knew one of the people who worked there, and they gave me the window statics. So they look pretty cool.
Aww.
I think they look great in a frame on a wall.
On the wall. Put you on a frame on a wall.
Yeah.
All right. So, did we do anything fun the last week, by the way?
In terms of 2.5 hours of comic talk, I believe that's fun. We didn't do anything.
This is a 0.5.
Yeah, that's a no grade.
Dang.
Yeah, I got a whole bunch of comic books back, so that was fun.
I am waiting with bated breath. Andy has notified that CGC has received the orders.
Mm-hmm.
So everything is sitting there now, waiting to go through their process.
So you got Silver Age and up, or what?
I've got several silvers, several moderns. I know I've got 2 Werewolf by Night 32s there. Right on up to moderns. I got a couple of the Batman Deluxe movie adaptions.
Nice.
And a Young Avengers 1. 2 of the Ultimate Fallout 4s. Basically, if I hit, I'll do really well.
Mm-hmm.
But right now, all the talk seems to be, God, here we are talking comics, in the midst of movie reviews, but these horribly unsustainable.
The show's only going to last an hour, I swear.
these
it is
horribly
I figure the movies are
modern prices. I've watched another certain YouTube, and him and one of his partners that do a weekly top 10, and one of the books I have, it's a Young Avengers 9.5 graded Wizard World Philly exclusive. 285 were made. I'm watching an auction for one right now, and with 2 days left, it's sitting at $1,075. And
I would pay $25 for that, and you don't even have to pay eBay fees.
As soon as that auction ends, I'm going to give it like 1 day. Then I'm going to go ahead and have mine posted, and hopefully that will be a translate into a nice white vinyl fence for my yard since the storm damaged the other picket.
So another tree can fall.
Yeah, no kidding on that, right?
But okay, I have 2 of those.
The modern prices, I don't know what in the world is going on. They're talking about some modern variants hitting the $9,000 mark for certain things. It was like a Star Wars book. It was a variant 1 in 75 that had a private sale of $9,000, and I'm just mind blown. I honestly, I see it. Your blue chip silver age, your golden age, your stuff like that, I think is going to be that's like your long-term prospects. But the modern stuff, the Young Avengers, Kate Bishop, it's her first appearance. She might be the new Hawkeye. Miles Morales might have a little staying power. I don't know if his book can stay at 1,000+, but holy crap, what is going on?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, like, to me, like the silver and gold, they're like the old man stocks, like your IBM, your Apple. They're steady. They're going to keep slowly going up. They're steady. This new stuff is like your penny stocks, up and down, up and down.
To me, it's totally blue chip. I think it's a lot of hype driven stuff. Mm-hmm. But if this does establish comics for the next generation, I can't say anything but fantastic. At least, but it's not the next generation that's plopping down $2,500 for a book. That's it. But
they don't have any money.
Well, that's the whole thing. I mean, my generation, we mowed a lawn and was able to go to a comic shop with a $5 bill and buy 5 books.
I was telling Dennis, I was like, I think some of these books are getting bought because Dennis is about to join us actually. I think a lot of these books are being bought by the $600 a week government checks.
I don't know. Well, I don't know. I really don't.
I think when those kind of stop and people are getting back to work, and some of those books are going to drop.
I hope for the future of the hobby that it isn't a flash in the pan. Mm-hmm. We shall see. I wished I had more because honestly, I would sell. I have no attachment to this stuff. It means nothing to me. I'm all about the Bronze Age and earlier, and of course the stuff that I read growing up, and that's nostalgia. And everybody says nostalgia sells. And moving forward, if Miles Morales is nostalgia,
maybe can you hear me?
Then it will sell. So we will see.
And then thanks for joining us. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I got a big echo and about a 5-second delay.
Turn
something
off.
Why do I have that? Let me try this.
Some of us have something better than AOL, Dennis.
I do have AOL.
I don't know. Yours freezes every 5 minutes.
How about now?
This is a good point, Daryl.
Can you hear me?
My email.
La la la. Can you hear me?
I can heard you.
All right, you other 2 goons, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you perfectly fine.
Okay, good. All right, there we go. I just put a camera on my desktop, so I've been tinkering with it and trying to get it all wired up. I was on a podcast.
You're not centered, but we can see you.
No, that's okay. I don't have the camera centered yet. But I was on a podcast a couple of months ago, and I had this horrible 3 or 4 second delay, and man, it sounded like a special needs kid because I would start talking. And then there'd be this delay, and then I would start talking on the television. I could hear the audio, and then I'd stop because I didn't know what I was saying. Oh, it's terrible.
Today is the greatest day.
No, it's more like this. It was more like, oh, and so today, here we go.
Everybody was kung fu fighting.
Oh, yeah, it was terrible.
He lives the life.
All right, as I was telling the guys, we're going to review the movies, and then we're going to do a grading system on each movie, based individual movie, and kind of use the comic book grading system, like the 9.8, the 5.0, like that.
Okay.
Got it, Dennis?
I'm on it.
All right. Who wants to start discussing the Iron Man, the first movie in the MCU that kind of got the ball rolling?
I don't know how in the world Marvel Studios and Kevin, okay, his last name, is it Feige or Feige? Or
Feige.
how do you
I always thought
Feige?
it was Feige. There's
Second.
Feige.
I
Kevin.
don't know how they took one of the most consistently boring books that Marvel has put out since its inception
How is that an A-list?
and turned it into one of the most exciting franchises
Ever.
probably of our movie watching lifetime.
Yeah.
Iron Man definitely, I don't think you saw coming what they gave us, especially after I thought the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man was really good, and then it kind of tailed off at the end. Of course, you had the Batman franchise of the '80s. It's amazing to me from start to end. And let's just start with the casting. Robert Downey Jr. It's absolutely amazing what they managed to do with this.
I don't think they could have done anybody better.
He was fresh off of what, 2 or 3 jail tours and one drug problem, a second drug problem. So it's, as everyone has said for 10 years now, you can't discount the fact that they were throwing the dice.
It was most definitely a redemption story for him.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, without question. So you throw the dice, but you still get a guy that's a high quality actor. He's a second generation actor. He's a second generation. I mean, shoot, how many '80s movies was he in that were upper shelf '80s movies?
Yeah, I mean, one of my favorite, Less Than Zero.
Yep.
I love that movie.
Yep.
Not Less Than Zero. Was that it? Yeah. With him and Andrew McCarthy and James.
Yep. That's exactly right. Let's see, what else was he in? What was the one where he was Pig? Was it?
I know he was in the movie Lucas.
No. He was in The Pickup Artist. How awesome was The Pickup Artist?
Yeah.
Juice
has no idea about these movies.
Who doesn't?
Juice.
He probably does not. You're right.
Yeah, he's too young for this kind of thing.
Yes, your homework.
I remember him in Air America.
Air America was awesome. Absolutely. He was in Johnny Be Good. He was in Back to School.
Yeah, he was. He was the friend. Yeah.
Right. There's another movie he was in.
I think in a few of those movies, now that I'm hearing these movies, I'm like, he wore a
Weird
lot of,
Science.
he wore a lot of eyeliner in those movies.
Yeah. Remember he was in Weird Science.
Yeah.
That's a legendary.
Yeah. I love that movie. One day we can review that great movie too.
Yeah. But we can't say that he wasn't a great actor. He's just a problematic person, but gambling. Period.
Of all the names, he was probably in all the other Marvel movies. They never really got anybody. The other names, we're getting a lot of background noise from somewhere. Does somebody have a video or something playing?
Not me. I closed all my windows except for streaming.
I got everything closed.
I'm in my basement.
Yeah, that's me.
I'm in a van down by the river.
What kind of background? Well,
like squeaking and like a TV or something in the background.
Well, there's a this way. There's a TV over here.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we're picking that up really well.
Mm-hmm.
Way over there.
Well, what we got going on though, Robert Downey Jr., kind of a surprise casting. The movie starts, it does a good rebooting of his origin.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, the original Tony Stark was injured in Vietnam. This definitely modernized it to the Afghan conflict involving terrorist groups, and I think they did a pretty faithful representation of his origin. I think they really kind of followed that pretty well, where he managed to cobble together his very first iron suit, and And then he makes it back, and of course has this change of heart after seeing what the after effects of his stuff and how much of his name is plastered all over stuff that killed so many American soldiers, and realized that a lot of his stuff was just kind of being sold to the highest bidder. And it definitely gave him that change of heart. The plot of the movie I thought really worked well, and it was almost the perfect tentpole for the franchise.
Yeah. I mean, I love that first suit when he comes out of the cave. That first suit, I love that.
And they represented it. If you want to compare to the comic, they represented that suit very well.
Mm-hmm.
It again. I think it came out at like the perfect time where technology had finally kind of caught up and started doing.
I forgot my notebook. Hold on.
What people were expecting out of movies. You always had the moments where it's like, oh, Christopher Reeve isn't flying. That's just a fan blowing his cape. Batman and Robin, they aren't climbing the walls. They're just on a string. And they didn't climb the wall. Iron Man kind of got the ball rolling with like what modern technology could do. Iron Man kind of took that to the next level.
Mm-hmm.
I'll buy into that. I think it certainly was able, CGI finally was where it should be to make the movies. Because when we watched Superman in the 70s and we watched the early Batmans, every single one of us said, imagine what it's going to be like when they can finally do what we witnessed for the past 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
But in the CGI, we watched it improve every 3 months, because every 3 to 4 months we'd get a new movie. And the CGI was even better and better and better. But you could go back and watch Iron Man right now, and the CGI is still fabulous. It is.
Yeah, I'm going to save that for this movie, but the next movie I might disagree a little bit.
What's the next movie?
The Incredible Hulk.
Is that a Marvel movie?
No. Yes.
Yes.
That Incredible Hulk.
All right. Right.
The bastard child of the MCU. And I think you can only blame one thing for that, and that is the replacing of Ed Norton as Banner.
Yeah.
I think everybody's like, oh, is that a Marvel movie? It is absolutely. It's number 2. It is the second part of the MCU first wave of movies.
And they came out a month apart.
That's it. And even the Tony Stark shows up at the very end. There's an end credit scene. Tony Stark shows up, and it is Robert Downey Jr. wearing an incredible amount of fake tan. I mean, he was blaze orange.
Hulk Hogan coming up here for WrestleMania.
Yeah, and but if they hadn't taken Mark Ruffalo, which I'm still mixed on, that movie would have so much more pop than it does.
Here we go.
The Avengers was based off of the events of what happened in Hulk, in the Incredible Hulk. That was the catalyst for the formation of the Avengers. And it's amazing that so few people, they don't realize that that's part of it. They start watching Iron Man, they leave Hulk out, and Hulk really is what kind of got the ball rolling for the rest of the movies.
Yeah, and they come out a month apart, which I didn't realize that until we looked them up a couple month before last. And I was like, oh, they really did. Oh.
And the screwed up thing with the
from what? Which Hulk though? Hulk 1 through 5, or Hulk when he was Tales of Suspense?
The what?
Which Hulk? Hulk 1 through 5, or Tales of Suspense Hulk?
I was talking about the movie's coming after the Incredible Hulk, coming right after. I think was that what we were talking about?
No, we were talking. You just said that they were a month apart.
With the release date of these.
Yeah, the release dates.
Release date.
Like if you went to the theaters, you saw Iron Man first,
and
a month later you could go to the theater and watch the Incredible Hulk.
Yeah,
and that's why I say they were spaced apart. That's why I asked if that was a Marvel movie, because Marvel didn't do that. That's a Paramount. Isn't that a Paramount movie?
Yeah,
It's
I think that's a Paramount movie, not exactly a Marvel.
but it is part of the MCU. They count it. I mean, you're talking about this is starting out. They haven't mapped it out.
Yeah,
It's
at that point,
just starting. After this happens, they're like, oh, we have to have a plan, and they make the plan for phase 1, phase 2.
Yeah,
So,
I'm on board.
but at this moment in time, Incredible Hulk and Iron Man, they're kind of like DC. They don't know what they're doing.
Mhm.
But once they have a hit, they go, okay, this one was kind of not a
Yeah.
good movie. This one was a hit. We're going to make a template based off of this one. That's what they did.
Yeah. That's where I was. My brain was going.
Yeah.
However, when I asked, are they the same? When I knew they weren't exactly the same, that's what kind of confused me. So
it's also produced by Kevin Feige.
Yeah.
You know, the same players are in it. You've got your same Stanley cameo when he drinks the irradiated milk. It's got every element.
it was a soda,
Yeah, it was the I
like
guess
an
it was like a
orange
burrito
soda
or
or
something.
something. Yeah,
But it's got literally every element of an MCU movie, or even
Mhm.
right on down to the end credit scene.
Yep. And they both come out in 2008. The next movie didn't come out until 2010. So
Right.
there you go. So during that time, like Josh is saying, I guess we can assume they were like, let's map this out and then go forward. Maybe I'm wrong on that, but that's what I feel like they were doing.
It has to be what they were doing. I mean,
There's also a possibility, if I'm not mistaken, very much like with Spider-Man, the rights were there was a gentleman's agreement with the Incredible Hulk.
Yep.
And they didn't realize that this franchise was going to become as big as it did, and they didn't want to be tied down, you know, when it comes to producing a movie later. Like Marvel and Sony got into that pissing contest with Spider-Man, you know, and it really kind of messed up. Okay, are we going to be able to do more movies featuring the Spider-Man, or are we just kind of kicking Spider-Man out of the MCU? And it didn't go very well. In the beginning, I believe it was Sony also had the rights to the Incredible Hulk, and that's also spurred their decision to only feature the Hulk in remaining movies versus doing Hulk feature movies. And that might be another thing that catalyzed their moving to Ruffalo as the Incredible Hulk. And I also heard that Ed Norton is just incredibly hard to work with.
I've heard that for a long time. I've heard that for a long time.
He's definitely a male diva, you know, in terms of his expectations and how seriously he kind of takes his craft, if that makes any sense.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and they had the same problem with the guy that played Rhodey, the first Rhodey. He was equally as difficult. You know, he jumped over to that Fox show. What was that guy's name that played Rhodey in the first one?
Terrence
Howard.
Terrence Howard.
Yeah, they had the same problem.
See, I just thought it was he just wanted a lot more money for the role for the next movie.
It could be a combination of things. It's also at that time too, not everybody wanted to be known as a comic superhero.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
Yeah.
And it you know, maybe Norton and possibly Howard, you know, kind of had that problem of, you know, this can't be what defines me. I'm a much better actor than that.
Mm-hmm. Mighty Nick says he thinks that Universal has the rights to Hulk. I know somebody does. I'm not sure which company.
There's a rights reversion that happens if X qualification hasn't been met by a certain time, that the rights would revert. And that's why, like, you know, the Fantastic Four, I think Fox did that silly thing of putting that god-awful Fantastic Four movie out, if for nothing else than to retain the rights. That might be also something that made Marvel Studios kind of balk at trying to do another feature Hulk film, because I think, you know, we very well could have easily had more. I mean, they even set it up. They gave us the creation of the leader. You know, if you caught that one little scene where the droplet hits the dude in the head and goes into a cut, and his head starts to expand, there's the leader right there. They were setting us up for more. but something happened, and we just never got it. Yes,
The other one.
the other one is the one I'm talking about. There,
Oh, the Roger Corman.
I
No.
didn't. No,
That never
No.
came out.
the
I watched
newest one that
we
I watched that.
Yeah.
I watched that Roger Corman one at Comic Con in Charlotte
Mhm.
under a sheet, and I can't remember which vendor had it, but he had a TV VCR combo that was probably like a 9-inch TV VCR combo back in the day, but they still weighed 150 pounds.
Yep.
And he had some kind of sheet over top of it, so you could kind of pop in there, and you could fit 3 people under there to watch it at a time and pop back out. But
Hey,
it was,
Jake, come in here.
yeah, that's right. He had candy, he had lollipops, you name it, and he had that. Yeah, that Roger Corman version.
Yeah.
And I think it was right after they pulled it from production to the theaters. They just decided it was just that bad.
Oh, to me, I think it's actually better than that other Fantastic Four, the most recent one.
The last one,
Yeah.
I haven't watched the last one.
I got like 5 minutes into it, maybe 10 minutes into it, and I had to stop. It was
I think it's terrible.
It was just that bad.
I didn't mind the Jessica Alba version. I think the only thing there that I minded was, just how Galactus was represented. But I thought they were fine movies. I didn't see them as something that was just horrible.
Mhm.
And Silver Surfer was fabulous. They got
I thought they did a really good job with
They
that.
got that right. You can't get that wrong when it's all CGI. As long as your graphics are good.
All right. Iron Man. Let's get back on that. So we're veering off here. We do that a lot.
That's
Doing
okay.
a slight history is what we're doing, I guess.
Yeah.
Is somebody going to take away your production rights? Are you going to lose like commercial business, Daryl, if we veer off?
Well, the thing it is, we're trying to keep them down to hour and a half instead of going 3 hours.
It's not going to happen.
What else have you got?
It's going to happen.
It's not going to happen. We're half hour in.
I will turn this thing around right now, mister.
Okay.
We're the freaking Lord of the Rings of podcast run times.
No, we're not. We're close.
Just when you thought it was over and thought you could go to the bathroom, hold that bladder a little
Hold
longer.
on.
Hold that bladder.
Well, most guys, 5, 6, 7 years ago when they really started to populate, guys would go for hours. And then they realized they needed to compress it down to an hour to keep our attention. And then they tried to cut it down to an hour because they knew somebody else's podcast was about to start. But now all these podcasts are starting to take 3 and 4 hours. So I think you're okay, Daryl.
I mean, mine is better than Joe Rogan's. I'll say that. But I was also thinking about Juice. He's like, I got to get up early.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, you're
Going
thinking
on
about
vacation.
The Juice.
That's why we said it an hour earlier, because I knew this was going to happen. You sigh, sir.
I was
See?
trying so hard.
We already went down
Anyway.
into the rabbit trail.
Here we go.
Back to Iron Man.
Where are they at? We're talking about Fantastic Four. We're going backwards to the 1979 Captain America.
That actually, the Captain America in the early
See?
90s, I didn't mind. That even though the Red Skull looked like he had candle wax for a face.
That was awful. You remember that old Thor back in the day?
The Thor that starred on the Incredible Hulk, the Lou Ferrigno version.
Yes.
Yeah, but remember they had that Avengers movie that had all 3 of them in it together?
Mhm.
That thing was awesome. That clear shield. Remember those clear shields?
It is brutal.
Well, it was kind of clear. They had painted the red on there and they had painted the star on there, but it was halfway clear. And he would put it on the front of his motorcycle. That thing was atrocious. You could see it wiggle.
Yeah, he's just like riding a regular motorcycle with some plastic stuff on it.
Josh, did you steal that mug from El Rodeo?
No. Why?
El Rodeo.
El Rodeo Drive? No, I did not. I don't steal things, Dennis.
He borrows and never returns. Totally different.
Yes.
Jeez, you gotta get this right.
He appropriates.
Yeah, I assimilate.
Simile.
Told him you would return it when it was empty.
It just always keep something in it. You're fine.
I got like 5 shopping carts in my backyard too, if y'all want one.
He's like, there are
course he did.
good points to eating outside. You know, the whole, you know, dash and dine, and all of that stuff.
Rabbit trail.
Those spindly legs, no fence can contain them.
I feel like nobody wants to talk about Iron Man.
We're gonna talk about Iron Man. I'm waiting for y'all to proceed. Go.
All right, so where are we next? Where are we next with Iron Man?
I guess we're hashing out the plot of Iron Man, but I didn't want to do the whole thing while everybody looked at me and nodded. So
Okay, I'll look over here. That way I don't see you.
conceded to try to get somebody else to talking about stuff. So I stopped with the origin. Y'all pick.
All right, one thing in the movie that I really thought was great. It really tells you when this movie was made. There, he's in the Humvee, and the kid wants to take a picture. I'll put it on MySpace. I was like, that is awesome.
And historically correct.
Daddy, what's MySpace?
Hey, Tom didn't deserve everything that Tom has been going through. He didn't do all the stuff to us like Facebook has.
Yeah.
And it was great that he didn't realize that the driver was a girl.
Yeah, that was great.
Yeah.
So that's a
great bone structure.
Great bone structure.
There were definite things going on that showed that Tony Stark would not be a very admired man in 2020. He definitely fit the role of a man with a godlike amount of money. Yeah, just like, what would you do if you could just walk out and money just meant nothing, just nothing at all? You know, if you were like one of these like United Arab Emirates prince guys that, you know, you just point at something and say, yeah, give me that. You know, and it means nothing. Like, you have no physical concept of money or what it takes to get anything, because you've got everything at the touch, you know. And that's kind of how Tony Stark was kind of played up in that. Was just like, you know, money is just a non-factor. They tried to do a little bit of rags to riches stuff, you know, or riches to rags stuff, you know, with him once he did that debacle of a press conference.
Mm-hmm.
You know, but even then. Well, dude, I mean, think about it. We're scraping stuff together. Like, God, I hope I can get a fence, you know? And he's like, yeah, you know, look at these 50 cars in there that represent 1/1000th of a fraction of what I actually have. You know, I mean, he's doing state-of-the-art Iron Man armor just on a whim, you know?
Yeah.
On his 3D printer.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think my only beef with the movie is how he went from his initial armor which was very low tech.
Mm-hmm.
All of a sudden, now we have the fancy stuff. How come you couldn't invent that beforehand? That's my only beef with it.
I think it kind of plays up on he never had a reason to invent it beforehand. He never had, like, number one, the original armor, let's face it, was done in a cave. You know, and you look at, I think that was done to kind of show how smart he was.
Yeah.
You know, the fact with him and another guy in a cave, given these, you know, crude elements, could actually put something like that together. And then when he actually got out, and it's kind of like operating in your basement and then getting to go to an ER and operating. You know, and I
mean, he had a reason to make that, what's it called, the arc reactor? How to make that big, bring it down to small so it's useful.
Well, he did that to support his own life.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I mean. I mean, he had that. He's like, I need to make something that's sustainable so I can live.
Where before it was like, it was based on a project just to make the tree huggers happy.
Yeah.
You know, and of course they never intended to move forward with that. It was one of the, again, it kind of, it's weird. It kind of showed a lot about, you know, corporate, like, I don't know, the industrial military corporation type thing, where it's like, I guess maybe that was the point. They wanted to illustrate that we can do this, you know, but we just don't, because it's not cost effective or anything like that.
Mhm.
And that point wasn't kind of lost on me. It's like they had this potential to do this energy source, and they did it just to make people say, okay, we tried, and then come to find out it was the one thing that was actually keeping him alive. So he focused on it after that.
Oh yeah, when Pepper changed that was so nasty.
Yeah. Yeah, when she pulled the ring out.
That's a typical Tuesday. There's nothing wrong with that.
It was like
It's
a
just what you
high-tech game of operation.
Yeah, just don't touch the sides.
He's having a heart attack over
probably-
here. It's all good.
Speaking of Pepper, that was probably one of the weak parts of the movie to me. I'm not a huge Gwyneth Paltrow fan.
Tall and lanky.
I wouldn't even call it her looks.
Why?
I'm not certain. Pepper Potts, I'm not certain her style of acting actually suited the character. I'm not sure if what I'm saying is translating there or not. But I felt like when I think Pepper Potts in my mind, I don't think Gwyneth Paltrow is the first thing that just kind of jumps out. I think she's almost, as an actress, I think she's almost too good for that role, to be honest. And I think it kind of showed, where like Robert Downey was like the perfect snarky, entitled, misogynistic, whatever adjective Robert Downey fit that perfectly. Maybe he lived a little bit of it, But I think
I find no
I
problem
don't.
with any of those.
What's that?
I have no problem with any of those.
Yeah, I think for some reason in my mind, Gwyneth Paltrow just kind of, stuck out as, this is not it just didn't feel like it was her.
She felt very monotone in this movie.
I think so.
Very robotic almost. Maybe she's Jarvis and we just didn't realize.
I didn't have a problem with her. I mean,
No, me neither.
I'm not saying I had a problem with her. It's just, I don't
I didn't have a
I
problem.
don't necessarily think that was the best casting.
well, I've never read any Iron Man books before. I don't care for Iron Man. He's not a character I like to read.
Right. It's like the Budweiser of beer. You don't ever see anybody drinking it, but somehow it's the king.
Yeah.
Iron Man is, I never see anybody really get into Iron Man.
The
However-
Armor Wars, if anybody wants to read a good Iron Man story, start at about 219 where the Ghost steals
Sure.
the stuff and move through Armor Wars, where, that's when he ended up fighting with Captain, the former Captain America is the captain. Yeah. And that's kind of where this whole, this movie tried to take a little bit of the Armor Wars and kind of, and put it in. But if you actually want a good Iron Man story, I would highly recommend the Armor Wars. Start with about 219 and run it up to about 230.
Yeah.
And there's the couple issues of Captain America and the 340s that'll probably fit in that run. And it just, his technology got out. Stain, put his technology, the Ghost stole the technology and Stain put it out there.
Yeah, I bought all those books new when I was a kid.
Yeah, I mean, and to me, I've tried reading other Iron Man books. He's had some cool villains. I think the Mandarin is cool. I thought, Blacklash / Whiplash, a lot of these villains are really cool. But I don't know if the relatability for Iron Man was exactly there. But damn if this movie didn't change that.
No, yeah, I think that's the general opinion is that you've got a character that individually in the Marvel Universe somehow is heralded as an A-lister, but nobody bought the books. There was never a really hardcore story to go along with it. That carried a bunch of weight anyway. Maybe there was one or two, like you said, but what has carried him since 1963, if not sooner?
Yeah,
To maintain, and this is
outside
the
of the early
movie.
Fantastic Four, and the creation part of the Marvel Universe, go past, what do you collect now to, Josh? 100? Go past 100, and what Fantastic Four story do you really care about?
I never liked any of the Fantastic Four books ever. I bought, I probably have 100 of them. I probably bought 50 of them new as a kid, and I just never could get into it. Maybe I bought 50. Realistically, I probably bought 20 new as a kid. I just didn't like it.
My favorite modern Fantastic Four story was the story that didn't feature the Fantastic Four. It was when the Hulk and Wolverine
Yeah.
and
I was
Ghost
gonna
Rider
say
and
that
Spider-Man
The Fantastic Three.
became the Fantastic Four.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. Yeah, I remember that. That was in the late '80s or maybe the early. I think it was the late '80s.
Early 90s. It was a 3-issue arc with Art Adams. He did the art for it.
Yeah.
I
That's
know
right.
nothing of those.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's
I
good.
have some trades from the later runs, like the Hickman run, and I can't remember who did it before him. I want to say the guy that did Starman. What was his name? I can't remember, but I have those trades, but I haven't sat down to read them. But from what I hear, those are good stories. I think Hickman did the one where Johnny Storm dies. You have those, but I mean, yeah, I guess Fantastic Four is kind of like Iron Man. It's kind of how has this thing stayed alive this long? I think Robert Downey Jr. has a lot to do with it now because a lot of people like that guy, regardless of his past, of his his drug addictions and problems and whatnot. The guy is charismatic. He's fun to watch. He has great mannerism. He has great facial expressions, and he sold you on Tony Stark. But for me, I still don't like Iron Man. I still don't like Tony Stark, but I like Robert Downey Jr. And I think that's what that did. It was just his persona making that character makes you enjoy the movie. Like for me, I enjoy the movie, but I still don't care for Iron Man.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I think an equal question because of that particular is how many books were books, but in the movies they're stellar. They're top of the heap. And how many of the vice versa? How many of the top of the heap books?
Here's another thing. Okay, we got Tony Stark and we got Bruce Wayne. Both are billionaire brats. Now, what's the difference between the two?
Besides a couple holes in some parents laying in an alleyway?
Exactly. I mean, he's got that drama. Batman has that drama. We can relate. Some people can relate to that. They don't have all their parents now, or they can sympathize with an individual who's lost their parents. Whereas Tony Stark, he hasn't lost anything. He hasn't earned anything. So it's a lot more difficult for a person like me to relate to that man because I'm not rich. I'm in a basement with insulation. I mean, I'm in a house
Really
that
is
was
quite
given
horrible.
to me.
I mean, Dennis has that palatial estate over there.
Yeah.
I live in a van down by there.
Oh no. Oh no. We're talking comics. We're not talking books. We're not talking houses.
I would say there was one little plot hole for me in this movie. When that bomb comes down, Tony just got out of the Humvee. The crew that was with him just died. And that bomb lands 5 feet from him.
Yeah.
I mean, great. And, it just lands there. It says Stark Industry. They made sure you had plenty of time to read that. and it blows up. I mean, that should be a huge bomb that even though you have a vest on, you should be gone. You should be gone. I mean, it should have ripped his head off because he didn't have anything.
Daryl, here's the answer. It's a comic book movie.
Hey, Daryl.
I'm sorry, but you got a plot hole that big in it. I mean, come on, you can drive.
Hey, it was so big, he had to put something in his chest.
Yeah,
It
well,
doesn't matter.
would have fixed his head that got blown off.
What do you want? Do you want it to be a bomb explodes?
Honestly, for me, they didn't. It was great that he saw that, but
10 minutes into the movie, it's over.
when that one blew up and killed the guy that just got out, and the shrapnel come through the vehicle, that could have been all it took.
Yeah,
and then he could have seen his weapons when he was at that camp when he come out.
That probably would have associated him with the attack.
I'm just saying, he saw the stuff. He didn't need a gigantic, fat man, a little boy bomb over there. But
now you're insulting people. Stop it.
And I want to say this: it's a good movie if that's really all I can find in it that I didn't like.
Oh yeah, if you since we're talking about this movie in particular,
Mhm.
how many Marvel specific movies? Not the Hulk, not the Spider-Man agreed upon kind of blending of. But how many Marvel Kevin Feige movies were there? 22 or 27 in that 11-year run, starting because it starts with this.
From 2008 to 2019.
I think it's 22 or 27. It doesn't. They had 11 years to make.
I got 23, unless
Okay.
maybe
There you go.
that last Spider-Man wasn't counting, but I think that counted also.
Well, no, because Marvel doesn't have the rights to Spider-Man back. They're still jockeying because of Venom. You know?
So that last Spider-Man Far From Home would not be part of the universe, because I think it's
part of
considered.
the universe and part of Marvel's cinematic universe.
Yeah.
Different.
Well, Feige's going to be involved. He's going to be the middleman,
Yeah.
Mhm.
bridge that gap. So, but he's not. I don't know if he was producer for that or not.
But
Mhm.
He might have been an executive producer.
right. But to get to my point, they made 23 movies in 11 years, and this is still one of the 4 best, easily. And it's the first one that they were in control of, and they were winging it, and they threw the dice. And this is still one of the 4 best ones of all 23. And, if you want to start injecting the Hulk movies and all the Spider-Man movies and the other that they don't have rights to just yet or didn't have rights to, it's still one of the 4 best.
Yeah.
Period. And they just threw the dice at it. Period. They didn't know what they were going to get out of it. This is what started it all for them to say, we got to get our shit together.
Mm-hmm. Let's see.
I think it has a lot to do with look at all these other companies, making a lot of movies, a lot of money. They sure are licking our ice cream cone and making a lot for it. What do we still have the rights to? Oh, nobody wanted Iron Man. Nobody wanted Cap. Okay, let's see what we can do with this little Ant-Man guy. I think it's ultimately, the way it worked.
Yeah, it's all. They didn't have any of the X-Men left, and this horse has been beaten for the past 10 or 11 years. They didn't have any of the X-Men characters. They didn't have the Fantastic Four characters because they had sold the rights to these movies off just to stay afloat, so they didn't go bankrupt.
Yeah.
And so it's all they had. And who knew the Budweiser of their universe would be such a big hit and would be the thing that kicked them off to the degree that it did.
Yeah. I honestly, as far as negativity in this movie, that's literally all I've got. And don't think I didn't try.
Oh, we know.
I don't like the fact that they killed the villain in the end. Of course, I'm probably standalone on that. I don't like the fact throughout the MCU, the resolution has always been villain dies.
Who was the guy's name that played him?
Stane was like a huge part of, there's probably a good 150 issue run there where Stane was a huge antagonist and catalyst. In fact, ran a competing company with Stark Industries. And the fact that they took somebody as gigantic as Stane and just offed him, in the end, that's not a small deal. That's not insignificant.
Well, it's a movie. It's not like, yes, the comic book nerds came out and watched it, but they're going to have to end. They have to have everything finished unless they want a continuing thread with something. So it's Jeff Bridges. What's the likelihood that Jeff Bridges is going to do another movie 5 years down the road, and he's going to do it for the same amount of money he did for this movie? We could
ask Don Cheadle.
Don Cheadle is not Jeff Bridges.
We could ask Don Cheadle and Terrence Howard, how that worked out for him switching roles like that.
And you know what? Which of those two guys?
And ever who played Red Skull in the first movie?
Yeah. That was the elf dude from Lord of the Rings. What's his face?
Yeah.
Oh, Matrix guy.
Matrix. That's right.
He's that guy from that movie. You've seen him everywhere.
That guy.
He was V from V for Vendetta.
Was he? That I did not realize.
Yeah.
There
I
you go.
didn't know that either.
So I guess we're coming up on the hour mark, Daryl. So I
Well,
guess we
now
can
we got
grade
10
this
minutes.
movie.
We got 10 minutes.
We got to grade this movie, bro.
I've got a 9.2.
9.2.
I would.
Am I too low? What happened here?
I think so. I would go all the way to a 9.8 for me. I think they did
All right, Mr. PGX over here.
Oh, wow.
That would be a 10.5. All right, if I'm doing PGX standard, it's a 10.5.
It's a 1643.
No, I will stand by the fact that it is one of the 3 or 4 best movies they made. And it's the first movie they made, and it's still light years ahead of everything that they could have done. They could not have made it better 11 years later.
Oh, it definitely holds up and holds up well, other than the MySpace. But other than that, it holds up great.
I think it's one of the 3 best movies they made. 11 years later.
Josh, what are you grading?
Oh, you said what, a 9.2?
I had 9.2. Dennis
Yeah.
had a 14. Wait, Dennis, that means you're giving somebody a 9, 9, or a 10.
I'm
Oh.
gonna be generous and say a 9.0. Again, it's not a character I like. When I rewatched it last week, I didn't even sit down for the whole thing. I lost interest in it. It was just like, okay, and I went and did something else. I mean, that's me personally. It's as a movie, not as a comic book movie, but as a film. It's not bad, but it's a background movie for me.
Mm-hmm.
I'd put it on in my studio and draw or paint, and it's just noise in the background for me. So I'd say a 9.0.
Yeah.
I go pretty much the same with Josh there. It's like a 9.0, and I will read by their grading scale. It's a very well-preserved collectible. The movie holds up with good eye appeal. It's fantastic to watch. There will be a number of minor handling and or manufacturing defects involved. In this movie, you kind of got to nitpick certain things, like how could he only be 5 foot away from the bomb? But that is a minor detail. So these little, spine cracks appear, in certain places, throughout the movie. But overall, it's definitely a very fine near mint movie. Mm-hmm. If you watch it, it is thoroughly entertaining. It's not something we watch now going, oh, look at that dude in the rubber suit. Yeah. We're not doing any of that.
Green Lantern, he's got all that CGI going on.
Though that's the whole thing. Like the
Green
CGI
Lantern
meshed up. It worked. So
that is exactly the example as a counter.
Mm-hmm.
Period.
Hulk, Incredible Hulk, not the regular Hulk, the Incredible one.
What about it?
All right, you got to start now. You got to start.
It's a movie about a guy who's really incredible.
Right?
He's dreamy.
Really incredible.
You can almost say he has an Ed Norton quality to him.
And then Taylor shows up and kills the entire movie.
Yep.
Thunderbolt, bite the curb.
I'm not a fan of Liv Tyler at all. She just bores me.
I think
this is me.
She's the damsel in distress. I mean, that's really all that she's good for. That sounds terrible, but she was in Lord of the Rings. She's I'll wait for you. I love you. Here, take my necklace to remember me by. She's typecast. I mean, and she fit the bill.
She was in that movie with Bruce Willis and the asteroid where
that one too. I'll wait for you.
Ben Affleck.
You didn't like the animal cracker portion of Armageddon?
The animal cracker portion was very good, Dennis. For a young teenage boy, that excited my imagination, Dennis.
I cannot.
I'm sure you got to go pregnant from that, so whatever.
There's a strong. When did that come out?
One other thing about the Hulk I loved right off the bat, the Bill Bixby cameo in the movie.
And the Lou Ferrigno cameo.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but Bill, since I think he was already passed away at that point, so to see him on the TV, I was like, that's cool.
I love the fact that they injected the original theme song into a part of the movie.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
It's I could just see him walking down the road trying to hitchhike and everything as I heard that music playing.
Another really great cameo to mention Dennis Hayes over here. Mr. Hickson Gracie was in this movie.
Hickson was in it. That bumps it up at least to a 4, maybe even a 5.
And he did that ab thing that when I used to have abs, I could not do that. I don't know how he did it.
CGI.
I feel like y'all are going to lowball the hell out of this movie, but I thoroughly enjoyed this movie. This movie is what I wanted the Ang Lee Hulk movie to be. So after sitting through the original Ang Lee, Jennifer Connelly, even though I think she was definitely much better than Liv Tyler, because I did find that some curious casting too, but
I like
Eric Bana. After sitting through that and seeing so little Hulk, this movie gave me a lot more of the Hulk that I wanted to see.
Yeah.
And I do care about the Hulk. The Hulk is a character that, I collected, for a good long while.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And that goes back to my point earlier about how many books are way up here, and then their movies are way down here, and then vice versa. Because this is one of those.
No, not
Yeah.
Because the Hulk books are fabulous. The Hulk stories continue to be exceptional stories. There's low points in all of them, but there are a lot more great Hulk stories and Hulk runs in the books. But these two movies left a little bit to be desired. They certainly weren't eight-lister movies like you would expect something like the Hulk to be, especially given the amount of weight that the Hulk TV show carried. I mean, you remember that? That TV show was awesome over kids.
I mean, the man was running around in green shoes, so you would think he was feet. So there you go. Hey, come on.
I just thought they made a lot of, the TV series was a thing because they made a lot of odes, to the TV series, to him holding up the purple pants and going, no, don't think so. There was a lot through this movie where if you were familiar with the past Hulk, you had a lot of Easter eggs to go, oh my God, yeah. Oh yeah. Or even like I say, the drop of blood hitting the scientist made me say, it's the leader is coming. It was so much with that. I don't think the Abomination was horrible.
It was abominating. It was awful.
Eli Roth, probably not the best choice.
Well, it's Tim Roth. Eli Roth is a director.
Tim Roth, my bad. I knew it was a Roth and I had Eli stuck in my head. But okay, Tim Roth, and now I love Tim Roth, especially, his Tarantino connections and everything.
Yeah.
But even the moment they said, well, he's a Russian national who moved to England. That's why he really sounds British right now. You know what I'm saying? I was just like,
Tim, you can do a Russian accent, man. Come on.
Yeah. I was just like, what?
I must break you.
But
I will break you. I am Zangief.
Yeah. Again, and I love Norton. I mean, I really do love Norton's work. A lot of the movies, there's a couple actors where if they're doing something, you actually find yourself wanting to watch it because of the actor. And Norton is one of those actors.
Yeah, he fits the bill of the nerdy sciences looking dude. I mean,
what's that?
He has that physical ability or physical features to look like a nerdy scientist, but at the same time, give you that emotive way of, I'm smart, I can handle this, but also be not as confident in certain situations. He has that acting ability. And he looked a lot more like Bruce Banner than Eric Bana did.
Oh yeah.
In my opinion.
And that's a big talking point itself, is if you look at the three guys that have played the Hulk just in the past 12, 15 years, that seems to be the only character that has had a bunch of flip-flopping, is there really a difference? Is there really a necessity to have one of those three guys farther up the food chain than others? You know, just like with the Peter Parker stories. You know, people will say that Tobey Maguire was better. People will say with whatever the second guy was, whatever his name is.
Tom Hiddlesworth, Hiddleston, what's his name?
What was the second guy?
Garfield.
Garfield. People
Oh
say
yeah.
Garfield was a better Spider-Man. You know, and then they say that the current one, Tom Holland, is better at all
Tom Holland, that's the guy.
both of the positions, right?
Hmm.
So is there a story like that, or is there a reasoning like that that is attached to the three guys that have played the Hulk? Is one of the three of them better at the Hulk, and one of the three of them better at playing Bruce Banner?
I mean, really, if the Ang Lee when they had the CGI was mixed with Eric Bana, so there was a physical appearance. You could tell it was a little bit of Eric Bana in that Hulk, like you would see with the Mark Ruffalo. Between those two, I would say Mark Ruffalo is hands down the best one. But between Ruffalo and Ed Norton,
Yeah.
as far as the Bruce Banner character, that's a hazy. I don't know if I can pick, because Ed Norton's Hulk doesn't look anything like Ed Norton.
Yeah, right. I don't like the CGI version of the Hulk that they had in the.
Yeah, that was a big issue for me in this movie.
Yeah. I really just didn't. He was too shiny.
Yeah, I actually like the Ang Lee Hulk better than this one.
Right. I agree. What about you, William?
If we're going, okay, first, I don't look at the CGI Hulk as being an extension of the actor at all. So when I look at Norton or Ruffalo, I strictly see Banner, because the Hulk is its own entity. The Hulk, stands aside. You could do an entire movie where the Hulk never shows up, and it doesn't matter who the actor was. I think there were times where, like, Norton definitely had more of a serious tint to him, and I think Ruffalo had more of. There were times where Ruffalo seemed smart but zany. He kind of had like a goofy element to him that I'm not sure ever really fit Banner, in any of his history. Which,
I feel like that's a lot with the Marvel movies. They try to inject comedy sometimes when they don't need it. And I think sometimes they're like, oh, you need to say something funny now.
But this movie actually didn't feature a lot of comedy. A lot of the comedy came
Exactly.
in
I think that made this movie not worse, but different from that. I think that's what gives it a disconnect from the rest of the MCU as well. They don't really inject a lot of comedy in this movie.
No, yeah, and that kind of is my point. If you look at, can you have a different Doctor Strange? Doctor Strange movies. Can you have a different Steve Rogers?
Different Doctor Strange,
right? Can you have a different Chris Hemsworth or Chris Evans?
I can't envision anyone else other than Evans playing Cap.
Right, but we've had to kind of muck our way through three different Hulks.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the first Hulk, the Eric Bana Hulk, doesn't count.
Yeah.
Like I say, this one, I guess we're doing a kind of an odd compare, because that is comparing the Maguire Spider-Man to, and the Garfield Spider-Man to the hand-picked. This will be our MCU Spider-Man. This. So the Eric Bana, for all intents and purposes, that movie was a failure. And trying to establish because they were selling Hulk toys and all of this stuff, and you watch the Ang Lee movie, and you're just like, oh gosh, man. First of all, we're never seeing the Hulk. I bought these Hulk hands for nothing. I mean, it's like, so when you get to the second one, where Ed Norton is, and Feige is like, he's like a man trying to birth a cow. He's got that latex glove on up to his shoulder, and he's right on in there. That movie, I mean, we keep saying it's not part of the MCU, but it absolutely is part of the MCU.
Yeah.
Regardless of who had the rights to it. And they did have to do some I think I know for some reason it's a little choppy tonight, a little more choppy than usual, and I think that the confusion is the fact that they did switch from Norton to Ruffalo.
Mm-hmm.
You know, what the catalyst to that? You know, again, the rumors: Norton's hard to work with. Norton wanted money. He wanted star power. He didn't want to be typecast. Is this, you know, that he didn't want to be this to be his defining role? Whatever. Just pick a reason. It was
He's already got that
switch.
defining role.
Well, I mean, that's just pick for whatever reason, the transition to Ruffalo and the decision. Maybe it was the decision: we're not going to do another Hulk movie. You're just going to be a side character through the rest. You know, until this ride ends, you're just going to be featured in other movies, and there wasn't going to be that, you know, that Ed Norton banner, you know, up there. That is what, in my mind, took this movie out of people's consideration for what it is. Like I say, you know, we never saw any of the other characters. We never saw Thunderbolt again. You know, we never saw Betty again. We never saw any of these other characters again. Only Hulk.
We saw Thunderbolt again.
There are movies I haven't seen, so Thunderbolt may have showed up again.
I'm pretty sure we have. Or maybe I'm just mixing that up with maybe he showed up in another Iron Man movie. I can't remember.
It's entirely possible.
Well, he was in the end of this movie.
What's that?
Him and Tony in the end scene.
Yeah,
but I think he's in another. I think he's in another end scene or something like that. It doesn't matter.
I feel like he is. I mean, that mustache is anyway. I don't know if the rest of him is.
Regardless,
one thing about his character I forgot about. There's one scene where they're like, "Where's he at?" And he looks like he's drunk and confused as to what he's hearing. He's like, "What?" It looks hilarious. He doesn't look like I'm this military man that will stand up and stuff. He's like, just looks confused.
They should have picked Sam Elliott to play Thunderbolt Ross, but
it's
better neither here nor there.
That mustache, oh yeah, that's a mustache.
The man was born with that
stuff. And that's a big letdown. Not having Sam Elliott in any of these Marvel movies is a big letdown.
Yeah. He shaved the next day; it was back.
Yeah, if they would have
like Daryl's beard.
It's like the Chuck Norris of mustaches.
Regardless, though, that end scene, I think that's where you really got used to the end credits as being a thing, or you know, it let you know something huge was on the way.
Yep.
You know, when Downey shows up and Thunderbolt Ross is sitting there drinking his liquor because he has just had his butt handed to him, you know, and pretty much everything taken away from him with the exception of his military career, you know, and says, you know, we're going to start a team. That was the angel on the mount blasting the trumpet, you know, about like this we're going big places with this, you know, you just wait. And
you can look back to Iron Man with that as well, because you had what's his name from S.H.I.E.L.D.
Oh, Nick Fury, Samuel Jackson showing up.
Oh, no. During the movie, what's his name that was talking to Pepper first?
Agent Coulson.
Yeah, Coulson. And he goes through the whole name of S.H.I.E.L.D. He's like, yeah, we're working on that. And so for me, you know, at that point, you think, could they really be something else? But you're like, no, it's not.
Well, that's the whole thing. Like all of these movies did, especially in the first wave, did a great job of setting you up going, oh my God, what's next? You know, oh my God, you know, what are we going to get now? You know, and again, this movie fit in perfectly with that. The curious casting aside, you know, like I said, I'm an Ed Norton guy. It's kind of like Punisher. You like Thomas Jane, you like John Bernthal, or do you like
Dolph Lundgren?
Dolph Lundgren doesn't count. But who was the one Punisher Warzone guy? Who was that guy?
I don't know who that dude was.
I've never seen that movie.
It's not horrible, but I loved the Thomas Jane Punisher, but John Bernthal became Punisher, you know, in Netflix, you know, and that kind of if you can forget that he's Shane and now realize that he's Punisher, you know, I mean that's a pretty big deal. You
I
know,
mean, can
before-
we really forget that David Hasselhoff was once Nick Fury?
Yeah, we can
Yes,
forget
you
that.
can.
Oh, yes.
I remember I bought that movie. I was like, gosh, this is awful.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
sometimes you have to suffer before you can enjoy the fruit.
The Hoff.
Apparently, in that scenario, you can, in fact, hassle the Hoff.
Yes.
Yeah.
In Germany, they don't pass that up.
All right.
German legend. Let's see. What else can we talk about in this movie? Goes,
I got a nice little tidbit in it. At the end, I actually know the guy who's flying the helicopter at the end of the movie. You see him for like a split second, see him in the cockpit, and he kind of does this number and looks down where they're fighting. His name is John Atkin, and he's a Canadian. I know him from the He-Man.org forums. But yeah, it was kind of funny. He told me, I was in Incredible Hulk. I was like, no, you weren't. It's like, yeah, at this point, I'm the guy flying the helicopter. I'm like, holy crap, it is him.
how
And
did
he's a bald guy.
American helicopter?
Bald. Say what?
How did the Canadian get in an American helicopter?
How did a British man play a Russian and not have to change his accent?
Irrelevant. That's not what we're talking about
I
right
think
now.
he's just trying to name drop. He wants to be
Certainly.
really special right
like-
now.
I'm famous. Mm.
Yeah, Josh is all slumming with the fame guys right now.
Yeah.
Wait, you're like 3 degrees away from bacon over here.
Yeah, no kidding.
Word.
Actually, he probably is there because he was in a movie that featured
I ate
this
bacon
guy.
this morning.
Get him, Kevin. Kevin Bacon.
You know, Ed Norton and Kevin Bacon had he's definitely there because you got to believe that Ed Norton and Kevin Bacon did a movie together.
Probably.
Oh, like, well, they're in JFK. I don't think Norton was in JFK. Maybe he was in the background cutting it loose, a foot loose.
That's it. He was doing the dance. At least he didn't have Patrick Swayze's ballet kicks.
Oh, well, yeah. Can't have that. Let's see. Well, what kind of grade are we giving this one?
I'll go 5.
William is going to go super high, so you're going first.
I will go with an 8.5. I consider it very fine. It is an attractive collectible with a moderate defect or a number of small defects. I enjoyed it. You know, I thought the acting was quality.
Mm-hmm.
You know, across the board. The defect would be Blonsky, the Tim Roth casting was Blonsky. The plot was easy to follow, and it also left room to grow. So I consider it very fine.
Yeah. Josh.
8.5.
He's got to clear his throat for it. So
I would probably.
Everyone
I would
else-
agree with not Dennis. I would agree with Billy. I would go at 8.5. I'd almost say maybe an 8. I'd almost also say I probably would never get this movie graded. It's not going to get slabbed. It's just.
We put an NG on this one.
But
Well, no, what he's saying is
8.5.
It's one of those movies where it's only got value in high grade.
Yeah, I'm like, wow, he put what was it, a 9 on Iron Man and an 8.5.
I know. I was really thinking I was going to make Incredible Hulk higher, but thinking about it again as a film, Ed Norton's great. Liv Tyler, not very good acting as far as that goes. Tim Roth, I mean, everybody loves Tim Roth. He's the A-list bad guy. You need a bad guy, he can play him really well.
When I think Russian, I think of him.
Yeah.
Grab that wallet. It's the one that says "bad" on it.
Who was it that played Thunderbolt? Was it
William Hurt. William Hurt.
William Hurt. I was going to say John Hurt, but that's an insult to John Hurt. I don't like that guy. I've never liked him. Don't like his movies. He's in the movie like, oh, this movie's gonna suck. Visually, as far as the CGI animation goes, that CGI is it's atrocious. It's absolutely terrible. And you can tell they didn't really want to invest in this. They've already done another Hulk movie, and it looked like it was slapped together. You can see the seams, and I don't mean on the characters. You can see the seams in which there's a scene they're at the university, and Banner hulks out, and Tim Roth has got his first injection, and he's sprinting across the front yard there. You can tell that he's on a belt on the ground, and he's running really fast. It's really bad editing, and those things lower it. Iron Man, apparently it had the money and it had the backing of the MCU and Marvel to get all those things right. This one was just like the Fantastic Four movies. It was simply made to retain the rights for Incredible Hulk.
But
I enjoy the movie immensely, but those things bump it down for me as far as the grade goes.
Oh.
So it sounds like to me, you're going for a 6.5, an above average collectible with a major defect and some smaller defects, or a
Say what you want, Bill.
of small defects.
Say what you want.
Yeah,
I'm new to this.
Yours has a little bit of spine wear, and that's about it.
Yeah, it sounds like you've overgraded it a little bit, but like I say, what you're talking about would be a major defect. I just enjoyed the movie. And to me, when you're enjoying something, it's kind of hard to nitpick, certain things.
Well, I enjoy the movie, but we're reviewing a movie. We're not saying, I love this movie, and my bias because I loved it means I'm going to grade it real high. No, I'm going to say I love the movie. I'll watch it more than Iron Man, but analyzing it and reviewing it as a movie, it is not going to grade high. Period. It's a guilty pleasure.
Dennis might be close on this one, but I think Dennis is going to be lower than me on it.
Probably.
Dennis, you want to go first? Or you want me to go first?
No, Dennis, go first.
No, because I'm gonna have a caveat that you guys haven't mentioned yet.
Caveat.
So Daryl, you go, and I'm going last because you guys.
Boys, get the dictionary. Look up caveat.
Yeah.
That's what I think.
Come on. Them fancy caveat. Words, them wordy words.
Well, again, like you guys are saying about Norton, great actor. Stan Lee's cameo, I loved it. Absolutely loved the cameo in here. We did mention in Iron Man, hey, Hef. Okay, that was saying so. The parkour, the running when they're chasing him, that parkour on the roofs, going through the town and stuff, I thought that was kind of cool. But that CGI, oh my gosh, I thought that was terrible. I thought Liv was terrible. William Hurt, there were times I think he's really good. And there are times, again, he's like the drunk uncle that you don't want to be around. So
I gave a Snoopy doll. Where did William Hurt touch you?
I gave it a 6.0 and I was thinking about going down to a 5 on it, but I'm sticking on my 6.0 on here. And what is a 6.0, by the way?
A 6.0 reads a slightly above average collectible with a major defect. It's basically a 6.0 and 6.5. This is directly from CGC.
Yeah.
So you're calling the major defect the CGI, and then the smaller defects would be some of the odd castings and whatnot. So I think in your interpretation, it would fall in in that 6.0, 6.5 range.
Yes. Take that, juice.
I still call it an attractive.
Oh, and the Gracie cameo. That actually, I think that took it from the 5.5 to a 6.
What about Ferrigno? Bumping up any?
Yeah, it says
I like Ferrigno's cameo better in Hulk.
Okay.
5.5 will be a fine minus, and it does say no Gracie cameo.
Yeah.
So that Gracie cameo obviously bumped it right on up.
It's probably in light blue and black that he's reading off of. That's the universal grade.
Oh wow!
All right, here we go.
Dennis,
So,
did we get the definition of caveat yet?
No.
You will.
Isn't that a fish egg? A caveat?
It's an exception, guys. It's an exception.
I really expected William to give it a higher grade than that, given the amount of push that you were giving it when we were talking about the last movie. But I give it a 6.0 as well.
Oh,
You know,
I thought you were going to be about a 4.
No. But the major flaw with this movie is the post-credit scene. We already know that the CGI sucked. We already know that he was super shiny. I did like watching him fight though when he picked up the 2 cars and smashed them together.
Was that a police car he broke in half?
To create the thunderclap? Yeah, I think that was a good little bonus that a lot of people don't pay attention to.
Well, we got the Hulk smash too. So.
Right, that's right. So they try to throw some Easter eggs in there. You know, him smashing those 2 cars together, or those 2 halves of a car together to create that big wave was certainly something that you don't get to see much. But the end credit scene was what? Do you remember?
Tony with Thunderbolt, wasn't it?
And what did Tony do?
Walked up to Thunderbolt and discussed the starting of the Avengers.
What's wrong with that?
Samuel L. Jackson, Nick Fury's wanted.
Yep. Nick Fury had already discussed it with
Tony. He discussed
at the end of
Iron Man.
But that wasn't Tony's job. Tony was on the fence like, do I get to be a part of the team too? Or am I irresponsible and narcissistic?
Yes.
So
on both questions, yes.
Right? So it wasn't his position to go in there and say, hey, we are starting a team. Who's we? Right? So that is
if you're approached and you're saying, hey, you're going to be on this team.
But he wasn't. He wasn't approached to say, hey, you are. And the time frame was too tightly knit together for him to be the guy making that statement.
But the end credit scene very simply could have been shot post everything as a tie-in for, I mean, I guess it could be open for debate, but if you look like the whole end credit scene, my theory on the end credit scene, it's not necessarily, it became synonymous with leading you into the next step or the next stage, but sometimes, you know, there's stuff that's like, hey, can we get this into the movie now? Can we get this? No, it's too late. We can't do this. So they kind of punch some of this stuff in kind of late.
Right. So that's the major defect. That's the major flaw. You know, if you're going by the little, them having, this is the only one that didn't line up. This is the only end credit scene that did not line up the next movie and the next movie and the next movie appropriately. It didn't fall categorically the right way because he's doing it like it's him that's putting this team together instead of Shield or Coulson or Nick Fury. It's, hey, my name's Tony Stark and I just figured out how to make some Iron Man armor and now I'm going to make this big superhero team. He didn't even know who these other players were. He had no clue who the other players were. He didn't know about Captain
You just watched New York get devastated by a green guy. You know, if you were,
but he didn't know. Right, but he didn't know.
They weren't in New York. They were in Vegas.
He didn't know who Captain America was. Right, he didn't know who the other players were. That's my point. Nick Fury said, "Here's my list of people. I've had all these catalogs."
We're parsing like semantics, I think, because there are a lot of times where it's like, yeah, we're just going to go over here. But I don't know who we is.
Sell it, Billy.
You know what I'm saying?
No, I don't. I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm saying I don't understand what you're saying.
It's like sometimes it's not. He didn't say I'm starting a team. It was like we, meaning okay. Fury has come up to me and said, "Hey, this is what we're doing." And Tony Stark then, you know, moves to the next thing going, you know, there's something. He obviously has a strong relationship with the military. That's why he can walk up to somebody like, you know, Thunderbolt Ross and talk
right,
to him.
but why would he go to Thunderbolt? because Thunderbolt's anti-Hulk.
The Thunderbolt was the catalyst for everything to do with the Hulk, though. You know, that was Thunderbolt's program. You know, it was kind of like the Thunderbolt's program. Also, something else that kind of Captain America was created. They mentioned the Super Soldier program in the Incredible Hulk, and the Incredible Hulk himself was a failure of trying to modify that Super Soldier program. And what they first injected Blonsky with was remnants of this. That was the next stage of Captain America, or was supposed to be, when they pulled the plug on the program.
I'll give you most of that. Yeah.
And then he got the Hulk juice. Yeah, I know. I can always tell it starts a little swirl, so I stopped talking for a second. But then he got the Hulk juice on top of the Super Soldier Serum, or
Hulk juice.
The next version of that, and then that's what made him into the Abomination.
That's what Josh had in big mug.
Yeah.
So there were allusions to a lot of what you're talking about through the course of the movie. You know, because we did hear stuff like Super Soldier. You know, and
right.
If I'm not
but
mistaken,
you heard it through a Hulk movie. You didn't hear it through Iron Man. And so you've got Fury and Coulson, who are a part of S.H.I.E.L.D., and they have records of, 4, 6, 8, 15, whatever the numeric is, people. And you can revert back to when they're on the helipad, on the helicarrier, and they show the screen, and and there's the pictures, and this guy's over in this part of the world, and this guy's in this part of the world. You could tell they already had them cataloged, and they knew where they were. So Tony Stark had no clue who all these people were yet. He had no clue who we are getting a team back or together is. They had no
we could
way.
be Tony Stark and Nick Fury. We could be a number. We doesn't necessarily have to mean Tony Stark, Captain America, Thor. It could be Tony Stark and Nick Fury.
Right, but and that's my point, is he doesn't know what all that is going to be yet. So that's why I think that it is the biggest hiccup of the movie. Now, we can say that the CGI sucks, but you can go back and fix CGI. But they let out this big. They had one guy say we're making a team, and then they had somebody else say we're making a team. When the first guy that said it to Tony Stark didn't say you're a part of the team. He just said, hey, we're making a team and we're going to do some things. And you might be a part of it and you might not. And then Tony Stark just takes off and runs with it. That's a big problem. For me, that's my big problem with this movie.
That is a very Tony Stark thing to do, to jump the gun.
Let's not also forget, though, that the Hulk wasn't necessarily, even in the comics, the Hulk wasn't necessarily a part of the team.
No, I know. He went to the Defenders after 4.
In as much, the fact that the team formed to deal with threats that are on the Hulk level. If you look, now we're getting into another movie, but if you look at like the first Avengers movie, a lot of it involved the destruction to the city done by one Mr. Incredible Hulk.
Yeah.
And it was done. And the same thing with Avengers #1, the Hulk just kind of, Hulk join at the end.
That's right.
But it was the fact that Loki was making everybody think that the Hulk was, the villain, or, the antagonist of the whole thing. So these guys got together, to form the Avengers. I'm not saying you're wrong. You could be entirely right. Maybe I'm misremembering things. But, the end credit scene, to me, it seemed to be like more of an add-on in this case. Like, okay, I think we kind of figured out, we're shining the light in the direction we want to go. This is
right.
The way we're going.
Right. And so it's an add-on and nothing more. It is the least effective as a part of an end credit scene. All the other end credit scenes let you know what was really going to happen and what to look forward to.
The Avengers was coming.
Well, but sort of. I mean, I don't disagree with that, but I just think it was improperly placed. I think it messed up the timeline, and it made you think. It led you to believe, or it misled you in who's in charge. I think they just put it in the wrong place. because you've got one guy saying he's in charge of the building of a team, and then you've got this going on with somebody totally different and going to Thunderbolt, who's not the Hulk. Dale, can you like get on YouTube and pick it and put it in here?
What's that?
That end credit. Are you?
I don't know how. If I knew how, I could, but I don't know how.
Yeah, there's a way to.
It's very possible too. You could end up with a copyright strike doing that.
Yeah,
right.
sure did.
I think also the Iron Man end credit, did it a lot better. It's the one we remember the most.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember there was one in the Incredible Hulk, but I don't remember exactly what was said and all that. But you remember the one in Iron Man.
Yeah. Yeah. And the one in this one was Thunderbolt Ross was sitting at a bar drinking. And the door opens up at the bar. Tony Stark walks in and he walks up to Thunderbolt and he says, whatever he says to him specifically, I don't remember. I don't want to mash it up, but he says, "Hey, I'm putting a team together." Why would you go to Thunderbolt Ross to do that? He has nothing to do with putting together the Avengers. He's sitting there wallowing in his own pity for losing the Hulk and losing the Abomination and all those things that go along with it. It holds no bearing on the story that happened or the way it's going to unfold other than giving you an inappropriate Easter egg. Does that make sense at all? That's my biggest beef. So, we can sit here and we can split hairs. But for me, that's the biggest problem with this movie. It messed the timeline up.
Okay.
Every other end credit scene, everything else that they strung together for the next 11 years was perfectly stitched together, or nearly. Are you looking for it, Wade? Are you trying to find it? Yeah. No, I was seeing if that's what you were doing, was trying to find it.
Yeah. All right, he walks in. It's Tony. They mentioned the Super Soldier program here. Hardware much more reliable. So they've clashed before.
He always wears such nice suits.
Touche.
And he looks really orange.
That's worth a half grade right there alone.
What if I told you we were putting a team together was his exact words? So he is aligned with Nick Fury at this point.
But if you go back and look at the actual timeline, he's not. That's my point. If you look at it the way the movies are done, as far as the movies come out,
well,
one guy's saying we're putting a team together. Somebody else is saying he's putting a team together.
Well, which one came out first? Was it Hulk or Iron Man?
Weren't they within like 2 months?
They're within a month of each other.
Iron Man came out first,
right?
And then a month later.
Hey, pull up the scene for.
But it was a month gap. There was a month gap.
Yeah.
But you can't line that up with in movie time. You're talking about release date.
Sure. Yeah. Just for me, that's the biggest hiccup with this movie. Is they're presenting it like all these things have already been put together. When you just watch the Iron Man movie, you don't know what the heck's going to happen. You don't know if he's a part of it or not. I mean, ultimately, we know he is because we've been buying these books for 50 or 60 years. But it just messed up.
That goes back to what I said earlier in that they haven't got this thing mapped out just yet.
Right.
They've got the little bits that are going to come together, but they don't know exactly where they're going at this point.
Right.
They know they want to get to Avengers, but they don't know how to get to the Avengers.
Right. So why is a non-MCU movie predicating the beginnings of the Avengers when it's a non-MCU movie?
Because the MCU doesn't actually exist at this moment.
Exactly. Exactly. It just didn't fall into place for me. It just was in the wrong place. I think it messed everything up for me. Just because we're looking at it from a movie perspective. We're looking at it from what did you like about this movie in particular? What did you not like? I just did not like that portion at all. It didn't make sense. Are you doing the other one, William?
No, I'm pulling up the MCU timeline. All right, MCU timeline at a glance. I think this has to do with where the movies fall into place.
Yeah.
Because this is
I
the
know
chronological
Cap was
timeline.
first. Yeah, Cap was first. Captain Marvel was technically second as far as movie timeline. So I did see that.
Yeah. Because I'm looking at like the actual, like if you were to sit down and watch these movies right now and want stuff to make sense in a timeline aspect, it goes Captain America to Agent Carter to Agent Carter to Agent Carter season 2 to Iron Man to Iron Man 2 to Incredible Hulk to
So Iron Man 2 before Hulk on the timeline.
and yeah, according to the timeline that I'm looking at right now, it's going from Agent Carter to Iron Man 2 to Hulk to Incredible Hulk. And then something that I'm not even familiar with. Of course, this timeline.
No.
Spider-Man, Doctor Strange, Slingshot. A lot of these have Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. episodes in the timeline.
Yeah.
So let's see.
What's inside?
How to watch the movies. Captain America, Iron Man, Incredible Hulk, Iron Man 2, Thor. So I mean, it's cemented in the MCU. Then Avengers, Iron Man 3, Thor: Dark World, Winter Soldier, Guardians Volume 2, then Age of Ultron. So yeah, and then it ends with, of course, that timeline ends with Far From Home. So,
Right, and I don't discount the timeline as the way it was.
it's just unusual for Captain America to be thrown in the beginning.
Well, and so what you're talking about means how you the timeline that you're talking about is how you should watch these movies.
Correct.
So they're saying Captain America because he's in the 40s.
Would be first in the timeline.
Because that was from the 1940s.
So you would have to go by release date timeline, not MCU chronological timeline.
Right.
Right. I think that's my beef. I don't even know if you could find that thing.
It is unusual. Like I say, I don't know if even chronologically the Captain America kind of fit, but I guess it did. Because didn't Captain America, wasn't that... When did the Thanos first show up in the end credits? Was that Captain America?
No. When was he?
I like Avengers.
I think he was the end of Avengers.
That's my thought, but I might be wrong on that.
Yeah. No,
Is it better to watch the Marvel movies in chronological order?
He's the end of
I
Avengers.
like watching an order of release.
That's all right.
He's the end credit scene that says, that's fine, I'll do it myself. And he gets up. And this is another thing that's a problem. Is he gets up and he goes and puts on that gauntlet. Wing's mad. He cut us all off. There we go. Pretty as ever.
And we all laugh. Well, one reason I didn't want to do it in chronological order by their timeline is I really didn't want to do Captain Marvel second.
I understand. I don't blame you.
I haven't even seen that movie yet, and I'm not sure.
It's great.
I've seen like 15 minutes of it in little blocks. And that's it.
She has pretty hair.
Wow.
So what's your aversion? What's your aversion to her? Her the person, her the character?
What's that? Who, me?
Yeah, Captain Marvel.
The Brie Larson or the movie, you mean?
Right.
Well, first off, I really wanted Yvonne Strahovski to get the role. I thought she would be.
Oh, that's right. I remember when you used to go off of that.
But here's the thing. Brie's a great actress. I just didn't think physically she could pull off the movie. And after watching the TV show Chuck, I knew that Yvonne Strahovski could pull off the character physically.
All right.
And she looks really, really pretty.
I remember your old podcast where you just go on and on and on about that. That's right. I do remember that. And on and on and on.
She's from Australia. She sounds like she's from California. She's amazing.
She sounds like she's Russian. Does she have a British accent?
My way.
No, she's from Australia. London.
So she sounds like she's Russian, but she has an Australian accent.
Yeah, if she wants to. I mean, it's not like an English person sounding Russian and sounding like they're. I don't know. Use wrong.
So anyway, that's why I give it a 6.
Oh, by the way, Ricky gave Iron Man a 9.6, and
Okay.
an Incredible Hulk a 7.5.
See, Ricky's right there.
Yeah.
There you go.
Gosh.
There you go. That's all right.
Yeah.
But so William, what were you when you were looking at the sheet? You obviously were using the grading of this CGC CBCS reasoning for the grades, and the 6 was the one major flaw, right? And for me, that's the one major flaw. That's the one major flaw for me personally. That's what did it.
Yeah, and see, that's the beauty of like grading is subjective.
Yeah.
That's enough. If you look at that flaw and it's the equivalent, this corner is severely blunted because of that.
Yeah.
Sorry, this thing is acting a little bit choppy right now. I'm not sure why.
It's that AOL.
Yeah, I'm paying too much for this AOL right now, I think. But I guess if he wanted, like, if we were looking at stuff the way CGC would look at a comic book, I think that's kind of why he wanted us to look at this. It's not Iron Man 1 versus Iron Man 3. It's Iron Man on its own. We're watching this. We're grading it based on Iron Man on its own. That way you could watch something, like a festering dog pile like Batman versus Superman. Though I hear the director's cut, I need to watch because they say it is much better.
Is it out yet?
I've got a friend that watched it. He said it was really good and makes a lot more stuff make sense.
What's that? The Snyder cut?
No, the Batman
Yeah,
versus
the Snyder
Superman.
cut.
Oh, okay, yeah.
I have not seen that. Huh. I did see the whatchamacallit, Suicide Squad, like an extended version. That didn't help at all.
Oh, duh.
And that's where we can sit here and compare the big two. That's what DC does wrong, is they don't keep everything connected the way Marvel did for 11 years. Marvel managed to keep everybody together for 11 years, create a story that lasted every 3 months for 11 years. And
Well,
DC,
they can't keep their own company together, so
I know. How do you have 3 or 4 of the greatest characters ever, and you can't keep that together? I don't understand.
It's mind-boggling, really.
Yeah. And I honestly don't want Marvel to buy them up. I want them to stay independent, because if Marvel gobbles them up, does that mean Marvel finds some way to inject them into the DC and Marvel timeline and they become 2 universes that coexist? Or
We can get that Superman versus Spider-Man Treasury Edition.
Yeah, I just don't have any interest in that. I would like DC to stay isolated and be their own entity.
Yeah. That famous line, DC is, Marvel is men trying to learn how to be gods, and DC is gods trying to learn how to be men. That's kind of the basic difference between the 2 movies.
Yeah, that's
or
a good
2
line.
universes. What's that?
That's a good reference that I've never heard ever, and it's right.
I've heard mentioned, and you think about it, it's like look at Superman. Look at at least the mind of Batman, if not the body, and Wonder Woman. There's a huge. Then you look at somebody like Bruce Banner, who's all of a sudden given godlike power. And Don Blake, who all of a sudden becomes he wields the power of Thor. There's a lot to that.
No, I totally agree. Yeah, I've never thought about it that way. That's a fabulous way to present it.
Not one, but touche.
I don't know.
That's Daryl's caveat for the night.
There's my caveat.
I get it.
Yeah. So anyway, next week is what's next on the agenda? Iron Man 2 and Thor.
First Thor.
Yeah.
Okay.
1, 2, 3, Thor.
All right. 1, 2, 3, 4.
Dude,
Are we doing it on Thor's Day?
put Daryl to sleep.
You're Thor?
Doing
Well,
it
it
on
hurts.
Thor's Day or Saturday?
I have a list with 4. Wow.
I guess I'll
How
have
do
to
they-
figure out how to watch these again.
How do they hold up? Make sure you watch the end credits.
Yeah. When Thor comes around, that might be all I watch of that movie.
I enjoyed Thor.
No, don't tell anything.
Spoiler.
Make them come back next week, Bill.
All right.
They aren't Norse gods.
They're not Norton gods either.
Don't spoil it.
They have really
Everyone dies.
Wow. Jeez.
Vader is Luke's dad.
On shot first.
There's still that rumor going around that Batman's parents were killed. I don't know if that's true or not.
I don't know if that's true or not.
Yeah, I don't know.
Daryl, do those two-
I heard Batman and Superman have the same mother.
That's the rumor
right?
too. I believe that.
Don't tell Martha. Are those two posters always there, Daryl, or did you put them up special for this?
I just think I put those two there just for this. I don't have any of the other ones, but I was like, hey, I got those over there. I put those up.
Are they framed?
They are framed, yes.
Which is that Michelle Pfeiffer in the middle?
Oh, that come from there's a magazine. There's that poster.
That come from that magazine I bought in the Woolworth.
There's the
What did you-
penguin.
Did you tape it to your wall?
Hmm?
Did you tape it to your wall?
He glued it to his wall.
I think he just likes the feeling of Michelle Pfeiffer staring at him.
I understand. I can't
She's
can't
got
hate
those
on that.
eyes. Those eyes, like,
How you
come here,
doing?
big boy.
He's got a little
I don't
recording.
know who she's talking to.
Meow.
Meow. Meow. Did you guys pick anything up this week? I did not. Anybody have any pickups?
I got all my graded books
I got-
back. That's what I got.
I should have Legends of the Dark Knight in my pull box and Death Metal at like 3.
That good one.
But,
Yeah, I
in
picked
terms
up Death Metal 3 and read it today or yesterday.
Let's end the podcast and talk about this after. I heard somebody say what? I said let's end the podcast.
You still have to talk about pickups, but if nobody has anything good, because I was at the beach, so the only thing I picked up was some fish,
Sand.
and a tan,
Were they like gradable?
and this fabulous scruff I have going on.
Yeah, I got a little scruff too. A lot of people can't tell. Just a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever, babyface.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just
Hey,
assembling
Daryl.
some back words real quick.
Daryl, an hour and 48 minutes.
What else are you?
Told you.
I'm trying to end, but y'all keep talking about comic books.
You just hit the button.
Bye now. Bye.
Y'all come back now, you hear?
I'll do
All
the
right, guys.
Billy
Next
Hillbilly
week,
wave.
2 more
Bye.
movies. Come back, join us from the MCU. You guys have an incredible day.
Incredible. Oh.